cranked the steering wheel hard to the right and the Audi skidded sideways. I lost sight of the girl. The car came to an abrupt halt, its nose hanging over the white line indicating the shoulder, its rear resting in the driving lane. I thought of moving the car, but I didn't know where the girl was, so I worked the manual transmission into neutral, pressed the button that started my emergency flashers blinking, and released my seatbelt. I pointed at the snow-covered bank that led from the valley that was the freeway up toward the residential streets. "Get out! Climb the bank, stay away from the car," I said. Nina did not argue, did not question, did not hesitate. Instead, she did exactly what I asked, and in the brief moment while I was still thinking about her, my inner voice reminded me that I was lucky to have a woman who trusted me that much. I opened my own door. The sound of the wipers and a wild power play followed me as I escaped the Audi. The girl was lying on her back next to the rear tires. Her wrists were tied together with twine. I didn't know if I had hit her or not. There was no blood that I could see, but I knew that meant nothing. Her eyes were open and staring at me as I bent over her. "Are you okay?" I asked. A stupid question that she made no effort to answer. She had just been thrown from a pickup truck traveling at least 50 miles per hour. Of course she wasn't okay. This wasn't the goddamn movies. How badly hurt, though? I couldn't wait to find out. I gripped the back of her shirt under her shoulders. She wasn't wearing a jacket despite the January cold. I lifted and pulled, cradling her head between my arms the way they taught me back at the police academy. Yes, it was risky to move her. I knew what was about to happen, though, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I dragged her body in a straight line across the asphalt and down into the ditch that ran along the freeway. If she was in pain, she did nothing to show it. The ditch was filled with 2 months' worth of snow, and I sank several inches with every step, yet the lack of friction made it easier to slide the woman along. When I reached the bottom of the ditch, I maneuvered so that I was pulling the girl away from the Audi. I managed maybe 15 yards when the inevitable happened. A driver, following the long curve of the Interstate, saw my car too late, hit his brakes, slid sideways, corrected course, and plowed his vehicle into the passenger side of the Audi. Both vehicles lurched forward about 10 feet. A few seconds earlier, the girl and I would have been buried under the wreckage. I settled the girl against the snow. Her eyes were closed now. The flakes melting on her face and the distant yellow freeway light gave her a ghostly appearance. I knelt and placed 2 fingers across her carotid artery. She was warm to my touch, and I could detect an uncertain pulse. I couldn't work the knot, so I cut the twine that bound her wrists with a tiny pocket knife I always carried. Afterward, I draped my coat over her, tucking it in around her throat. Nina trudged toward me. I held up a hand to hold her back. At the same time, a skidding sound caused my head to snap around. I was just in time to see a second car crash into the car that crashed into my Audi, although with considerably less force. A third car managed to stop in time, only the driver behind him wasn't as capable. His car hit the third car with enough force to push it into the second car. "Oh my God, this is going to be a bloodbath," I announced to no one in particular. I left the girl, climbed out of the ditch, and moved to the cars. The radio in my Audi continued to broadcast the hockey game, although the windshield wipers had ceased working. I yanked open the passenger door of the second vehicle. The airbag had deployed, and the driver was sitting there with an expression that suggested he had no idea what had just happened. The woman next to him seemed more cognizant. There had been no airbag on her side of the car, and she was holding her shoulder under the seatbelt strap with one hand and her forehead with the other. Blood seeped between her fingers. I took the handkerchief from my back pocket and folded it over. I pulled her hand away from the wound, covered it with the white cloth, and returned her hand. She didn't seem to mind at all. "I told you you were driving too fast," she said. "I told you, didn't I tell you?" I'm not sure the driver even heard her. "Try not to move," I said. She turned her head, looked me directly in the eye, and said, "Huh?" "Try not to move." "Move what?" Another car piled into another car, which was hit by yet another car. The snow grew thicker and heavier. The wind blew harder. Nina appeared at my side. She held up her smartphone for me to see. "I called 911, she said. "They're sending help." I could only nod. I watched the freeway behind us. Some vehicles unscathed were caught in what was fast becoming an enormous traffic jam stretching all the way.